Hello students, welcome to our next lecture. Today we are going to study the primary structure of dicotyledonous leaf. Up till now we have seen the primary structure of dicotyledonous root and the stem. Yes, now there is a somewhat difference in the structure of the leaf and the root and stem. So in case of root and stem, it is a outermost covering is only a single epidermal layer. But in case of leaf has a dorsiventral structure. That means it has two surfaces, dorsal surface, and the lowermost is the upper surface. That means two surfaces. So because it is a dorsiventrally flat structure. Okay, so it has a upper covering and also the lower covering. So it has two epidermal layers. The at the upper side it is the upper epidermis, and at the ventral side, or you can say the lower side, it is lower epidermis. So this dicotyledonous leaf, as it shows a dorsiventral structure in its transverse section. It looks, or it sees, or it looks somewhat like that. That is it shows the that is internally it shows the four parts. First, that is the at the upper side, it shows the upper epidermis. Then inside to the epidermis, or the upper epidermis, it shows the different types of parenchymatous tissues, or it can say the mesophyll tissue. So these mesophyll tissues, they are somewhat they are like the parenchymatous tissues, but they are modified as they contain the chlorophyll pigments, and in case of leaf they are somewhat different in shape. Okay, so they are known as the mesophyll tissue. So these mesophyll tissue, either they are in some plants, in some leaf, they are somewhat homogeneous in structure, they are, or but in case of dicotyledonous leaf, they are heterogeneous. Heterogeneous means these mesophyll tissues, they are differentiated into two types of tissues. So that's why they are that is heterogeneous. Then center to the leaf, they are present that is the conducting tissue, or you can say the vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem, at the center. Then at when you goes to the inner, that is lower side of the leaf, then it shows a lower epidermis. So it has a four distinct parts: upper epidermis, lower epidermis, and in between these two epidermis there is a presence of vascular tissue and the mesophyll tissue. Okay, this is somewhat the overall structure of that dicotyledonous sunflower leaf. Okay, so let's have a look in detail, one by one. So how the upper epidermis, it contains how what type of tissues, then mesophyll, then lower epidermis, and vascular tissue. So this is the upper epidermis. As you can see in the figure, that there are you can see the two epidermis, that is uppermost layer, that is the upper epidermis, and the lower, that is the lower epidermis. So now you have to concentrate only on the upper epidermis. So these upper epidermis, it is a single layer of compactly arranged cells. So as in case of root and stem, usually the epidermis, as it is the outermost covering, and it makes a physical barrier between the inside tissue and the outermost environment. So it must be compactly arranged, because they should not have any intercellular spaces in between them. So the reason, you may better you can better know the reason why. Because if the intercellular spaces are present, then the any that is objects, or you can say the pathogens, or any type of environmental, that is objects, they easily come inside the plant body, and it may get hazard to the internal tissues. Okay, so avoid these. To protect these internal tissues, these outermost covering is, it is firm, it is that is it should not have any space in between them. So that's why the epidermis, the cell of the epidermis is compactly arranged. There is no any intercellular spaces. and along with these compactly arranged cells, this epidermal, that is outer cell wall of this epidermal tissue, they show the thickening, or there may be a deposition on the outer cell wall of this epidermal cell. So there may be a thickening of cutin material. So cutin material is a somewhat wax like material, and the layer which the forms on the upper epidermal wall, cell wall, is the cuticle layer. So it is again the additional protective layer formed on the upper side of the epidermal tissues. Okay, so this layer is known as the thick cuticle layer. So with the help of this thick cuticle layer, this epidermal that is layer can protect the inner, that is organs or inner tissues of the plant body of the leaf. Okay, so in some cases, in case of sunflower, you can see the when you touch the surface of the leaf of the sunflower leaf, then you feel somewhat that is rough that is texture. So this rough texture is due to the presence of some multicellular hair like outgrowths. Multicellular hairs, they are the from the upper epidermis, these projections or hair like multicellular projections, they are developed. Okay, so these epidermal tissue, that is upper epidermal tissues, they produce these multicellular hair like outgrowths, that is known as the trichome. So we have seen the various types of trichomes in our previous lecture. So this multicellular trichome is present on the upper side of the epidermis, upper epidermis. So it is again the additional protective phenomena or the protective structure which develops on the leaf of surface of the sunflower, so that they can protect themselves, they can protect their plant from the environmental hazards. Okay, so this is the about the upper epidermis, how upper epidermis is well organized for the protection of the inner that is tissues. So it has a single layered compactly arranged cells with a that is the outermost cuticle layer, thick cuticle layer, and also there is a presence of that is somewhat multicellular hair like outgrowths, that is known as trichome. So trichome, cuticle and epidermis, they together form a protective covering on the upper side of the leaf surface, because upper surface is facing more to the environment, to more to the sunlight. So it must be it must show this additional protective structure. So that's why this leaf, it contains these three parts. Okay, so up let's look to the inner tissues that are present inside the upper epidermis. Yes, this is the mesophyll tissues. So these mesophyll tissues from the upper epidermis up to the lower epidermis, they extend in between these two. So it is present uh, in between the two epidermis. Okay, it is the region of where it is present in the leaf surface. When you see the lamina portion, that is the flat lamina portion of the leaf. When you see the leaf, then it has the two portions, the upper portions and the lower portion, and this upper portion, that is the flat portion, it is known as the lamina of the leaf. Okay, so inside the uppermost covering, that portion, whole portion, is known as the lamina. So that lamina, in that portion, these mesophyll tissues and the vascular tissues, they are present. Okay, so it is the region of lamina present between the upper and the lower epidermis, and it is differentiated into palisade and spongy parenchyma. So as I said earlier that the mesophyll tissue, it is heterogeneous in nature. That means they are differentiated into two that is different tissues. What are these different tissues? They are palisade parenchyma and the spongy parenchyma. According to their structure, they are differentiated. So you can see in the figure a long structure, a long column like cells are present which are compactly arranged. These column like cells which are compactly arranged, they are known as the palisade parenchyma. And you can also see the under the inside the parenchymal cells, or just after the parenchymal cells, there is a presence of oval or elongated, that is thin walled cells which are loosely arranged. That means intercellular spaces are more in them. Okay, so these loosely arranged parenchymatous cells, they are known as the spongy parenchyma. So there are two different types of parenchymatous cells, they are present in between the lower and the upper epidermis. Okay, so these are two, palisade parenchyma and spongy parenchyma. So palisade parenchyma, it may be a single layer, or it consists of 1 to 3 layers of thin walled living parenchymatous tissues. So these cells, they are somewhat elongated or column like and placed at right angles to the upper epidermis. Okay, this is the upper epidermis and they are present at the right angles. So the angle of this palisade parenchymatous tissue is somewhat right angle to that of the upper epidermis. Okay, and the cells, they are compactly arranged and they contains the chlorophyll pigments or chloroplast in them. So the palisade parenchyma, as they contain the chloroplast pigments, they are that is they help in photosynthesis process. And palisade parenchyma is the main photosynthetic tissue of the leaf. Although the spongy parenchyma also contain the chloroplast, or they also help in photosynthesis, but the palisade parenchyma, they are the main photosynthetic tissues in the leaf. Okay, so after palisade parenchymatous tissue, there is a presence of again the spongy parenchyma. Okay, these spongy parenchymatous tissues, they consist of loosely arranged cells, and when they are loosely arranged, they shows the large intercellular spaces in between these cells. Okay, and they are somewhat present towards the lower epidermis, and palisade parenchymatous tissues, they are facing towards the upper epidermis, whereas the spongy parenchymatous tissue, they are present towards the lower epidermis. Okay, so the cells of these spongy parenchymatous tissues, they are thin walled, rounded, or oval in shape. Okay, so this also contains the chloroplast pigments, but their main function is to storage the food material. So palisade parenchymatous tissues, they are the main photosynthetic tissues. They contains the large number of chloroplast in them, and they that is meant for photosynthesis. Spongy parenchymatous tissues also help in the process of photosynthesis, but they are mainly that their main function is to storage the food material. Okay, so this is the you can or you only focus on the mesophyll tissue now. So because we are discussing about the mesophyll tissue, so these two types of tissues you can see in the figure, that is palisade, that is elongated columnar shape, compactly arranged thin walled palisade parenchymatous tissues which are present at the right angle to the upper epidermis. Then the spongy tissue which are present towards the lower epidermis, and they are loosely arranged, showing the large intercellular spaces, and they are thin walled. Okay, the parenchymatous the palisade tissues, they are mainly photosynthetic tissues, and the spongy tissues, they are mainly for the storage of food. Okay, so this is the mesophyll tissue. Now come to the vascular tissue, which are present at the center. So the portion in between these palisade parenchymatous tissues and the spongy parenchymatous tissues, the center part of the leaf, it is there is a presence of vascular tissue. Okay, so as you can see in the that is a picture, this vascular tissue, it is composed of it shows the xylem and phloem, and together they form a vascular bundle. So the vascular bundle is present at the center. These vascular bundles, they are present in the when we see the leaf surface, you can see the veins. Okay, the midrib and the veins, that is the, in case of dicotyledonous leaf, the reticulate venation is present. So this venation, that is the middle, that is a large vein, and there is a these large veins produces the small veins and forms a that is network of veins. So these veins, that is the middle, that is midrib, you can say the middle large vein is known as the midrib. It shows the vascular bundles, they are present in that midrib regions, and their branches, that is veins. Okay, so these that is venation, the particular type of venation, it is made up of, or it contains a vascular tissues. Okay, so it is a channel to provide the food and the water to the that part of the plant body. Okay, so these vascular bundles, they are like stem, they are conjoint, collateral and closed type of, but it is closed. Yes, in case of stem, they are conjoint, collateral and open type of vascular bundles because there is a secondary growth. In case of root, they are radial vascular bundle and closed type. Okay, in case of leaf, they are conjoint, collateral as that of the stem, and but it is closed as like that of the root. So it is conjoint, collateral and closed type. So conjoint, collateral means the xylem and the phloem, they are present on the same radii. Okay, and closed means in between the xylem and phloem there is absence of, or there is not any presence of the you can say the that is meristematic tissue, or you can say the cambium tissue. Okay, so as there is no secondary growth, hence the cambial or the meristematic tissues, they are absent in this vascular bundle, hence that vascular bundle is the closed type of vascular bundle. Okay, so each vascular bundle, it comprises xylem and phloem. The xylem always lies towards the upper epidermis. That means they are facing towards the upper epidermis, whereas the phloem, they are present towards the lower epidermis. Okay, so or you can say that the xylem faces towards the palisade parenchymatous tissues and the phloem faces towards the spongy parenchymatous tissues. Okay, so this is the arrangement of the vascular tissues in the case of leaf. And this that is the portion, you can see here the these tissues, that is the xylem and the phloem, they are surrounded by a single layer of parenchymatous cells. So this single layer of parenchymatous cells which covers the whole vascular tissues, they are act like a sheath. So it is known as the, and it is present around the vascular bundle, hence it is known as the vascular that is bundle sheath, vascular bundle sheath, or simply it is said that the bundle sheath. Okay, so then at the upper end and the lower end of this bundle sheath or these vascular tissues, there is a presence of again the protective tissue somewhat, that is thick walled tissues, they are present around the that is vascular tissues at the center. Okay, so it gives a somewhat a firm or the protective structure, or the it gives a firmness or the rigidity to that lamina surface of the plant or the midrib portion of that leaf structure. Okay, so this is about the vascular tissue. So this vascular tissue, they are of conjoint, collateral and closed type. Xylem is present towards the upper epidermis and phloem is present towards the lower epidermis. Only xylem and phloem, they are present, and this xylem and phloem, they are surrounded by a protective covering that is known as the bundle sheath. Okay, and this bundle sheath again protected by a somewhat thick walled cells. It is only present in the midrib portion, and the other surface, that is in present in between these veins, the laminal surface, which contains the palisade and the spongy parenchymatous tissues. And this spongy and parenchymatous tissue and these vascular tissues, they are all protected by the upper epidermis, and the next one, that is the lower epidermis, that we that we see here, you can see in this picture the clear picture of the xylem and the phloem part. So see in this picture the xylem, you can see in the red, that is color, and you see the somewhat large and the that is small vessels of that xylem. Okay, so this xylem, it is, so it is somewhat enlarged condition, and it is present towards the upper epidermis, because the protoxylem faces towards the upper epidermis. Okay, and it consists of vessels and xylem parenchyma only. So two types of vessels you can see here clearly, metaxylem and the protoxylem. Only the vessels, they are present in the xylem tissue and the xylem parenchyma. So other than these vessels, the other portion, that the remaining portion you can see in the xylem area, is the parenchyma of the xylem. So only the two cells, they are present in the xylem tissue. Normally there are four types of cells, that is xylem vessels, xylem tracheids, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers or xylem sclerenchyma. So in case of this sunflower leaf, only the xylem vessels and xylem parenchyma is present. Xylem tracheids and fibers, they are absent in case of leaf. Okay, so they are absent in this leaf. So protoxylem is present towards the upper epidermis, while the metaxylem, they are present towards the lower epidermis. So large vessels, they are present towards the lower epidermis, and the small vessels, that is known as the protoxylem, they are faces towards the upper epidermis. And the lower portion, that is present in a blue, that is somewhat blue color, this portion is known as the, that is the phloem. So it is present towards the lower epidermis, and it consists of again the different type of cells, that is sieve tubes, companion cells, and phloem parenchyma. That means the sclerenchyma or the phloem fibers, they are absent in this region. Okay, so clearly you can see the mid portion of the leaf. It shows the xylem, parenchyma, and there is a demarcation, that is demarcation between the xylem and the phloem. So the blue portion is the phloem, and the upper portion, that is present, the somewhat rounded vessels are present, that portion is the whole portion is the xylem portion, which faces towards the upper epidermis, and the under, that is the lower portion, that is the phloem, toward it faces towards the lower epidermis. And the line, that is the red line, that the single layered cells, red colored single layered cells, they are wholly covered to that xylem and phloem, is the bundle sheath, that is made up of parenchymatous cells. It is a bundle sheath which covers whole xylem and phloem. Okay, so this is the structure of you say the that is leaf. In that picture you also see the cuticle layer, upper epidermis, then palisade parenchymatous tissues, then the spongy parenchymatous tissues, then the lower epidermis, then at the lower epidermis you can see the stomata also. In upper epidermis, stomata may be present, but in less number, because this upper epidermis faces towards the upper that is the environment or the sunlight directly, it faces towards the sunlight. So to avoid the transpiration, to avoid the evaporation rate of the plant body, the stomatal number, the number of stomata, they are less in case of upper epidermis. Okay, so in case of lower epidermis, they are more in number. So let's look at the lower epidermis. So you can see the lower structure of that figure. That figure, it shows the epidermal tissues, that is lower epidermal tissues, and it is a single layered, and it is covered by again the that is somewhat protective layer. Okay, this cuticle also, these cells, that is some cells of this lower epidermis, they also produce the hair like multicellular outgrowths called trichomes. In some cases they produce the trichome, or in some cases they do not produce any trichome. Okay, so the you can see here the stomatal region, that is stomata in present at the base of the epidermis, lower epidermis. So more number of or large number of stomata, they are present under the or on the surface of the lower epidermis. Okay, so stomata is meant for gaseous exchange, and it is also for the transpiration of water. Okay, so this is somewhat the 3D model of the internal structure or the transverse section of the leaf. You can see the upper epidermis with cuticle, then the lower epidermis with stomata, and in between this portion you can see here the compactly arranged palisade tissues, loosely arranged spongy tissues, then xylem, the tube of xylem and tube of phloem. How the that is channel or tube pipeline structure is present in the midrib. So this is the midrib portion. Okay, and this palisade and the spongy parenchyma you see there is the lamina, or the it is present in between the veins surface. Okay, so this is the about the lower epidermis. So this is about the internal structure of dicotyledonous leaf. Here we take the sunflower leaf. So sunflower internally, the sunflower leaf, it looks like that. So it shows the four parts, that is upper epidermis, mesophyll tissues, then vascular tissues, and then the lower epidermis. Okay, here in dicotyledonous plant, mesophyll tissue, they are of two types, palisade and the spongy tissue. Okay, so palisade is meant for photosynthesis and spongy is meant for storage of food material. Okay, so it has a two protective layer, upper and the lower epidermis. Okay, so this is the that is structure of dicotyledonous leaf, and this is the end of the today's lecture. In our next lecture we will continue with the primary structure of that is monocotyledonous, root, stem and leaf. Okay, so one by one we will see the monocotyledonous parts of the plant body. So here it is the, you can now differentiate between the leaf, then root and the stem of dicotyledonous plant. Okay, you can easily differentiate, you can easily understand the difference between these three organs of the plant body. Okay, this root and the stem structure internally they are somewhat similar. When you look at first sight, you see that it is a similar structure, but when you now after studying the anatomy of this structure, this root and stem, you can easily identify, or you can easily recognize the root and the stem part of the plant body. Okay, so before that you see that they are both are same, but now you can recognize or understand that they are how they are different, and you can easily differentiate that differentiate this both structure. So also you can also differentiate the dicotyledonous leaf with the monocotyledonous, as we will see it further, then you can differentiate that structure. Okay, so today it's over, and we will meet at our next lecture. So um, uh, till now, that is it's over. Thank you.